Father-in-law had it 3 years ago. And like,
I don't have it, it's like, oh, 6 o'clock, or 5 o'clock, we just all stand up.
All right, please rise for the national flag. Pledge of allegiance, not the national anthem. Not singing that, that would ruin everyone's day. Oh, yes. Thank you. I call the meeting to order at 5:02. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Whew, thank you. Sorry about that. Have to change the time on double meeting.
no, we'll be changing.
What?
We can change lots of times.
Yes, we can. Okay, additions, deletions. Okay. Did he have some?
I am not sure, there's,
Okay.
we're moving one thing around, but I don't think that we need to. I want it.
Do you have any additions,
No, I just.
deletions? Okay,
So.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Community comments, was there any
Yeah,
community?
here, right.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Steve Swisher,
I am for the hearing. Is what I'm signing up for.
okay,
Okay.
okay. Gail Todd. Hi, welcome.
Switch this around because I'm doing double duty.
So, if you can, please tell us your name, and your address, and then,
I'll make it brief.
I'm sorry?
I'll make it brief.
All right, thank you.
Gail Todd, 168 North Wheeler Loop, Sisters. I'm the secretary of the Sister Science Club. And recently we had a fundraiser for science and education on April 27th. And I'm pleased to report that we raised $11,050.
Oh,
And that will be going for science education at all 3 schools. I just wanted to report that.
oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
We all thank you.
It was a fun event.
Oh, you win.
I did.
Awesome.
He was everything.
I know, this guy. Public hearing. Declare public hearing open, okay, so. You wanna. Do I just tap this thing and call, okay, public hearing open?
Nailed it.
Yeah, budget session. Supplemental budget capital project fund discussion. The public is invited to comment on the 2025-2026 budget and supplemental budget capital projects funds. And I know that we have Steve Swisher. At least.
What, you can just sit there, Steve. I don't think you're.
Yeah. Yeah, you can stay in your seat if you'd like. I didn't. Okay.
You got inside the building.
Yeah. Showing off my flexibility. Yeah.
Steve Swisher. I live at 69339 Oxfield in Sister, past 29 years. I served as a budget chair during this budget season as of the previous years, and my term is ending on June 30th. At this point, I'd like to just point out that we had a full budget committee this year in terms of not only the 5 elected board members, but 6 appointed members. A total of 11 people that all participated in this process during the year. We had a lot of in-depth questions, over 80 questions that came together, edited down to 72 basically. And I think there's a couple I probably should have edited further down, but basically it was about 72 that the staff, Sherry and Kurt Amy, whoever was engaged in that, just did a tremendous job of getting that formatted and responded to us and put together in terms of budget committee people to deal with. So really appreciate the staff expertise on it. This is a difficult budget year in terms of kind of like past history. We've had to approve a budget as a budget committee, and the board will then have to adopt a budget before you know what your revenues are. It's coming up, and this year in particular, with the federal issues as well as state issues for spending, that kind of stuff. So ultimately, I think superintendent and staff made a really good first approach to the budget and bringing that forward with some cuts and things, trying to balance some middle ground here. But that remains to be seen, and I'm sure you'll have to make some kind of adjustments a little bit later. The revenue is also a bit stagnant because of enrollment didn't kind of pop up as thought either. So you have that little complicated problem. But perhaps you'll just have to see where that goes in the future. Future budgets, this budget, the coming year, and future budgets have a couple of other thoughts in terms of issues I think you could be facing yourself in terms of additional expenses. And that's liability due to fire and property stuff. And there's the Trout Creek Conservation easement that goes between the high school and the toll gate area, as well as your Juniper Haven area up there. And in that, the toll gate neighbors are concerned on the toll gate, but just continuing to say they're trying to clean up toll gate, what's happening over there. Hopefully they don't get a fire. I know that Kurt is working with the district ranger and other people putting together a plan to continue to look at engagement in that area. I think he more that he'd be at and record minutes or meetings and those kinds of things could lead towards reduced liability. God forbid if a fire got started there and went into the toll gate neighborhood and wiped out a bunch of houses, you and your insurance carrier could see a lot of liability and future increases. Juniper Haven probably doesn't have this much problem in terms of nearby residences. However, the forest there is much more volatile in terms of the juniper and that kind of stuff there. They burn more easily. So just keep in mind that some of those liabilities in your future, maybe not this year, but the year after. And right now, the difficulty of anybody buying fire insurance and sisters is big time if you following that problem. So that's a potential revenue or liability and cost in the future. The last piece, just a little bit more positive in terms of things that perhaps you can do in the future to keep a focus on best research and practices. We do kind of have this gap in education in particular between what we know, the research dictates, and when the best practices are actually implemented. It's a several year lag in education, more so than in other industries. But one of which is about early childhood education, the preschool, early care and education, age 4 through 8, the kinds of things that happen at that age, or not only the cognitive ability development and those things that happen, social, emotional, those things. So I'm just hoping that you keep that piece of ongoing research. It continues to do. I should look at future budgets, and it'd really be nice if you had more resources there, but if you don't, at least consider that to be the last place you cut. Yeah. So, which you may have to be doing some cutting coming up. I would encourage you to look at the research and say, where are we making the most difference? And that may be in that age 4 to 8 area. Finally, as we take a look at daycare kinds of issues that sort of go with that, keep in mind about your own recruiting problems, about getting our staff members here, places to live and housing, but also daycare is a big issue. And so in that entire area, whether you have a preschool and a daycare and those kinds of things, the staff has easy access to, whether you're partnering with Spurred or you might consider programs in the future that's not very expensive, but has a lot of impact. I'll give you an example. Medford Senior High School in the late '70s, early '80s had a preschool on site at Medford Senior High School. And that staff could use, and then other staff in the area. I happened to be staff at Crater High School at the time. So our son and daughter got a preference placement. Both Sean, some many of you know Sean, and Nicole went through that particular program. And every senior at Medford Senior High School, or not every senior, but I believe it was their junior year, they had at least a 3-week stint they had to spend in that preschool and daycare, working with the kids and working with the relationships. A couple of the kids at Medford High there were all-star football athletes. I be the head football coach at Crater at that time, but they developed a relationship with our son Sean and made sure he had a Medford Senior High jersey. Much to the chagrin of his father. But in any event, you have an opportunity, I think, with system, the consolidation of the campus. Hopefully a district office move that gets happened over there. They have more room in that Cofield Center that you might be able to have some kind of a preschool or that kind of experience, so the high schoolers can just walk across the street like they did at Medford Senior High, whether they're seniors or juniors, and ultimately have those kinds of experience. I know some of that's going on right now, and it's terrific. But again, I have to come back to what we know and what we do, and the focus of things in those early years are so important. And the high schoolers got as much out of that as the preschoolers that went on. And I dare say that if you look at the records of teen pregnancies in Rogue Valley during that time, when Medford was fully running that, Medford Senior High had the lowest teen pregnancies in the area. Because I think those students are discovering they maybe weren't quite ready to be there.
Fair enough.
For young children at that point. So with a little humor, that is, I know, but in any event, I would ask you to consider that. So ultimately, those kinds of things, think of future liabilities. And then if you have to cut, try to cut where research tells you does the least damage as opposed to what has the most impact. So those last comments were my comments on the budget committee's comments at that moment.
Perfect.
Anyway, and I'm done with my.
Thanks, Steve, very much. All right,
If I could comment,
sure.
there are 197 school districts in the state of Oregon. I bet we have the most competent budget committee in the state.
So.
The background, the preparation,
Yeah,
high school principals, financial advisors, people with MBAs, people from all walks of specialized skills that really allows our budget committee, and not only do they have the background, they have the energy and the willingness to dive right in and ask 150 questions of Sherry in regard to the budget. And it is kind of a reflection of the extraordinary benefits we have in this community. And I thank you and other budget committee members who are here tonight, who have given their time to help us do a better job.
Well, thank you, and I know that the other appointed budget committee members do serve on other committees and that kind of thing. Straight, I think that's a really positive thing to encourage to continue. That gives an engagement point, and maybe future school board members and that stuff emerge in that. So,
Good.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi. Thanks, Steve.
I'm just here.
For the discussion. do we have questions? Does anyone have questions for Sherry? This is our, basically our last conversation to discuss the budget before we close the public hearing and move on to approve it. Does anyone have anything? Do you have anything?
No, I just want to thank the budget committee as well and everybody. It is great to have that level until you have to answer those questions and they're smarter than you are. And it is it's nice to have that.
Well,
It
thanks.
is nice. Steve has consistently been the chair, and I think that consistency helps guide the process. We've kind of refined it over the last 5 years. And it's really become I think, a good process where you create hopefully a barrier-free way for people to ask their questions. Get the answers they want when they jump into the budget. So it's been, having that consistency has been nice.
Yeah, and thank you, because of your amazing ability to even answer all those questions. Was absolutely amazing, especially in such a short turnaround as well. So you clearly have a good pulse on what's happening
We'll
here.
dive into it pretty deep, so a lot of this stuff is, I mean, it's stuff that we've asked ourselves to, okay, why is this looking like this?
Yeah,
So we do have the answers.
We are much less efficient than most school districts our size who get their budget done in about half an hour.
Yeah.
They show up and approve the budget and then walk away.
wow,
And we're so lucky.
a little scary to me.
Yep.
If there are no more questions, I would like to declare the public hearing closed.
We have to,
That's the next, that's outside of the public hearing, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I move that we approve resolution 24-25-01. Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the sister school district hereby adopts the budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026 in total amount of $38,740,370. Budget is now on file at Sister School District Administration Office, 525 East Cascade, Sisters Avenue, Oregon. There we go. Got all the words in there, maybe not in the right order.
No, that's great.
can I ask you to also, the first paragraph of the next, there's 3 resolutions in this, we need
Okay.
to, make the appropriations and,
So we could just do it all
So
together.
you need the next
yeah.
page?
Just the
Right here.
making the
This-
appropriations and the imposing the tax or categorizing.
Be it resolved? Is that where we are?
Oh.
This one, Asa, I think. right there.
Great, be it resolved that the
I
amount
think
shown
we can do
below.
action,
two. And then
but we just need to make sure we,
This one, this right here, resolution making the appropriations and imposing the tax and.
So we need to read all 4 of these.
I don't think you need to read all of this.
No,
Okay.
but just this part and this part and this. part.
Okay, I will continue. Be it resolved that the amount shown below are hereby appropriated for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, and for the following purposes. There is a chart then. Then it is, be it resolved that the following ad valorem property taxes are hereby imposed upon the assessed value of all tax property within the district for the tax year 2025-2026 at a rate of $4.0997 per $1,000 of assessed value for current tax rate. At a rate of 0.075 per thousand assessed value for the local option tax. In the amount of $3,544,224 for debt service on the general obligation bond. Be it resolved that the taxes imposed are hereby categorized for purposes of Article 11, Section 11B as And then there is a small chart there. Do I need to read that?
What's, you don't need to read that, I don't think.
Okay.
It's just,
Yeah, it's just
Repeating
repeating it.
stuff.
It's just the same stuff.
Yeah.
part of it's subject to limitations, part of it's not subject to limitations, which is the debt service.
Do you want to second it again?
Sorry, second it.
All in favor of the resolutions for the budget, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great, we have a budget for 2025-2026. Thank you, everyone who helped with that process. That was.
I think we have two more resolutions, do we not?
Have another one,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have to be part of the, I don't think. You can,
Resolution
for
24,
the supplemental budget for the current year.
Yeah,
right, that does have to be.
okay.
You ready to do
I
that one
move,
too?
I can,
All right.
Doing great.
make a motion that we approve resolution 24-25-02. Resolution 2024-25 supplemental budget. Be it resolved, the Board of Directors, the Sister School District Number 6, Deschutes County, hereby, not spelled right, increases the 2024-25 capital project fund budget, little addition there, budget in the amount of $2,500,000. Be it further resolved that the Board of Directors, Sister School District Number 6, Deschutes County, hereby directs that for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, is that right?
Yes. It's for the
Yeah,
current
because
year.
The adopted,
It's last year.
the adopted appropriations are hereby increased by the amounts shown below for the purposes indicated within the fund listed. Do I need to read the note?
I can explain.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Noted
the
as explained.
explanation.
So what
Okay.
happened is, in the bond project, the money that was budgeted to be spent the previous year, that work didn't get finished and it carried over into last year, which wasn't budgeted for, so we have to do a resolution to actually pay for it. We have the money's sitting there, but we didn't allocate the money in the 24-25 budget. That's why we're doing this process.
I'll second the resolution.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Thank you. Everyone. Sign those. Let me get caught up here. Okay, business finance report. We're still with Sherry. Sherry hour.
It's the longest I've ever said it.
Any questions?
Any
for Sherry?
questions on the finance? report? We can move on to the last resolution, if not. And this resolution is just moving appropriations from one function to another function. To make sure that we don't get ourselves in trouble and overspend an appropriation level.
Did anyone have any questions about our current budget situation?
You mean just one?
Nope.
I move that we approve resolution 24-25-03.
But I think he might have had a question.
Okay.
I don't have a question. I would like just a moment to read it.
Sure, we can,
You read.
we can still approve the resolution and go back to questions, of course, because that's not, one is not the other. So go ahead and read it. He's gonna figure out. Oh,
We can have discussion after the.
yeah.
the version.
No, he was just looking at the budget.
Okay.
Do you want to read it?
Whereas under Oregon Revised Statute 294, local budget law, school districts may not expend more than has been budgeted for each major function. And whereas various funds may incur expenditures in fiscal year 2024-25 that exceed appropriation levels, and whereas the district has sufficient underspending within the affected funds that allow for modifying appropriations to ensure compliance with local budget law. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Sister School District Board of Directors does hereby authorize an appropriation transfer to allow expenditures in excess of the amount authorized in the 24-25 adopted budget for the funds and major functions listed below.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did
Did we?
Eric, did you?
I'm just making sure that see the note here for max survey DHS match payments in excess of budgeted amount is, this is just.
Yeah, that's. what I
Yeah.
was just like, wait.
These are our, the money we get for the surveys that we do for Medicaid.
Yeah,
It is filtered through the ESD and they have to pay a match payment up front. We end up getting that money back. It takes about 4 months to get it back, but we do get that back, but it has to be deposited into a revenue code. It can't go against the line item where it was
Right.
expended to pay them. So we didn't budget enough for those match payments.
okay.
So we have to, yes. Okay, I'll just ask again, all in favor of this resolution 24-25-3?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. All right. Did you have questions? We can go back to questions about our current situation. I just wanted to ask, because you were looking it over and.
Yes, I was. No, I think I'm okay.
Great. Thank you so much, Jerry. Bond oversights, more money. Great,
Thank you.
thanks for coming.
Members of the board, my name is Mark Kelly. Here is the chair of the Bond Oversight Committee. With me today are Rob Corrigan and Amber Dean, who may have additional comments when I'm finished here. Two other board members, Mark Christie and Chris Turnquist, were unable to join, but they joined in the conclusions I'll be reporting in a minute. Basically, as some of you may remember, in May of 2021, the voters of the district approved a $33,800,000 construction bond with a list of projects featuring a new elementary school. As promised in the bond, the district appointed a committee as the oversight committee, and these are people I would speak about the group as being a mix of commercial, educational, in the case legal background, but with a kind of a unified theme of civic service. And I'm really enjoying working with this group. I'm hoping we'll hear from at least two of the others here tonight. Anyway, the committee was impaneled in November 2021. And in summary, our task for the bond was to monitor expenditures to see that they were only expended on matters covered in the bond measure language. It was bond measure 9-141. And the priority project was providing a new elementary school. Now, of the potential projects listed in the bond, the only one there was the budget for, as it turned out, and not even enough budget to begin with, was the elementary school. So our goal was purely to track expenditures on the elementary school project. All of that money has been spent, and the most recent total of that budget and total revenue provided for the project was $41,890,000 and $880 because of additional income that was booked to the budget. So in doing our job, we were given regular expenditure and budget updates. We were given any information we requested. We periodically met with the superintendent and your owner's representative, Brett Hudson. We were given presentations and updates by the architect, the LRB, and the builder, Sun West. And we're given some site visits at key milestone dates. So in reviewing the information provided, we are comfortable that the expenditures as reported to us were within the language of the bond, meaning that they were spent on the new school and not on unauthorized extracurricular expenditures. So I'm authorized to make this report to the board and the public that the proceeds of your bond were spent appropriately under the terms of the bond. So that's the report you need to hear from us.
Yeah.
We've had a year of occupancy under our belt, and it seems from my visits to be in great shape. Let me make two personal observations based on my experience, which is 35 years of advising school and community college districts on their construction programs, ranging up to billions of dollars and tens of billions of dollars over my career. And I would commend the board, the superintendent, and the team for one particular thing, well, for a lot of things, but one in particular was biting the bullet and facing the fact that coming out of the pandemic and supply chain disruptions, labor shortages, there was no way to make a fall 2023 opening date. And the public accepted that. I think it was well messaged. There was no other way around it. The upside of that is because of the change in the market, really in that intervening year, we were able to save a lot of money and in fact, add back into the budget a lot of things that were taken out of the budget. I guess my final comment is that in many, many years and billions of dollars of these kinds of projects, I've rarely seen one that has been this well-designed, well-built, well-managed, and well-documented. So congratulations.
Wow.
As I told Superintendent Scholl, had you been my client, I wouldn't have made any money on this. That concludes my report, and now Rob or Amber, if you have any comments.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Yeah,
Joey,
thank you.
appreciate your work and helping us make sure that everything was spent correctly.
I think the huge smile on Joan's face tells you that you done good.
Well,
Thank you.
you know, I also served on the committee, but throughout Oregon 69265, here in Sisters. And in addition to signing on to everything that Mark said, I just, as I sit here, I'm reflecting back, we all lived through it. May 2021, there were probably more of us thinking about remote learning over Zoom than new buildings. And yet, you know, from the get-go, it was a very successful campaign. By the time we got together as a committee, interest rates were soaring. It looked like our revenues were fantastic. It was encouraging opening of eyes to in a candy shop. But then by the time, you know, groundbreaking in November of 22, that was 2 months after the Dow hit a nadir, about 30% off its high. And of course, the cost of rolled steel and conventional lumber and any form of labor was all over the place, going through the roof. In between there, we had threats of not getting even insurance after a really bad fire year locally. I mean, when you consider all the headwinds, tailwinds, and crosswinds, to have landed the airplane, and what I think the numbers you just said, 74,041 million is like 0.1%. Just put the plane right down in the center of the runway. I gotta say personally, having been around also other development projects that extended over years, I would particularly commend Brett Hudson, who's not here, but several, I mean, obviously Kurt we met with, the board was doing probably as much or more oversight than we were. Some of the others, obviously Sherry, Todd, others in the room, others involved. It really was a great program. So congratulations to you all, and the results speak for itself. There were some terrific trade-offs in terms of cost versus functionality. I think you stuck that one too. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think my comment would be to what Jeff alluded to. the resources of having an oversight committee that has actual experience, knowledge, and it's more of a conversation. It's not just are the numbers lining up? It's, well, have you thought of this? Or what about this? I mean, I think it is a different community when folks step up that actively have knowledge and can support and are all working towards making sure we do the greatest good for the community. So it was fantastic.
Kurt, we all like oversight. don't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah.
No, thank you all.
Thoughtful oversight is wonderful.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And thank you for steering it. Kurt.
Yes, yes.
A
It was, it
project.
was my pleasure. It's the product is fantastic. So,
Absolutely.
We just met to fix the field, so we'll get that done, then it'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
My leader.
Thank you.
We're gonna jump in and let our middle school folks present, because I know they have a tight timeline. Want to honor our kiddos who've got some.
They've got some commitments, because these are some very involved kids. So, get you guys gonna sit up here with them. All right. Hi, everybody. Todd, if you can help me bring that presentation, will be awesome. So we had our admin meeting on Monday morning. Kurt said, I want you to present data for the year, kind of what you've done data wise. And so with us, a lot of that's grades and attendance and iReady. And I started to compile it, and I was looking at our attendance, I was looking at our conferences, and I was looking at our belong classes. And as I was reflecting on it, there's no better data in the world than seeing the kids that are coming out of the middle school. So as I finished that up, I decided, I don't think I'm gonna present that. I can send that data to you and you can see it. We started something this year called the Portrait of a Graduate, Sisters Middle School graduate, and it's based around the tenets of belong, prepare, and inspire. And I'm gonna just lead really quickly into that. And I'm gonna let these two 8th graders who are getting ready to depart our school kind of present their portrait of who they are as a Sisters Middle School graduate, because I figured that's some of the best data that you can see. And their teachers highly recommended these two to do it. So nice work with your teachers. So the first thing, I'll go to what is it? We as a teacher team kind of put together some tenets around prepare, belong, and inspire. Like, what does that mean at Sisters Middle School? Obviously, it's an overreaching goal for the school district, but in belong, we want to say we are a family at Sisters Middle School. Sometimes you get along, sometimes you don't. But that's part of being in a family and working through it. We're lifelong learners, and that's why we're preparing, whatever that road might be for us. And we explore our passions. We're trying to be inspired. In middle school, it's about trying a lot of new things. We have a lot of different electives, a lot of different things for them to kind of test out before they take off. And under each of these, the teachers came up with some tenets even more detailed. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on because I want them to talk. But as I go through this, you can kind of see these are some of the things that are tenets that we wanted Sisters Middle School graduates to have under belong when you're in a family. Some of the tenets underneath prepare.
Dramatic pause.
Yeah, dramatic pause. Yeah. And so we thought not every kid is going to be able to embody all of these, but our hope is that every student coming out of our school can at least pick one from each of these categories where they really feel like they knocked it out of the park. And with that, I wanted you to know that the teacher leadership team developed this through talking with students and talking with each other. It didn't come from the top down, it kind of organically was built. We implemented these presentations in our belong classes, which we've talked about quite a bit. That's where we do the mentor advising. The 8th grade students during the 3rd trimester had to build these, prepare them, and then present them to the younger kids in their class. They also presented them to their parents at student-led conferences. And the last thing, and these are all ideas, most of these did not come from me, and they're really cool ideas, is one of the teachers said, why don't we line the hallways with these portraits for the next year after they're gone? So one of the things that's gonna happen is these portraits, we've bought bulletin boards that are gonna go up and they're gonna be laminated, and they're gonna be up there for the year. So every single kid walking through the halls are gonna be looking at your portraits for a year. And thinking about what's gonna be on my portrait. And with that said, I'm gonna stop talking, I think. And Kate wanted to go first.
Yeah.
And then Kinley will go second, so I want you to start, it's up to you, if you wanna sit or stand, it's totally up to you. You get to pick wherever you're most comfortable. Okay. You pick.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so just like Mr. Ralph said, we have been working on this in our belong class, and it's something that we've been implementing throughout school, and especially as we leave middle school and keep our legacy going, trying to just create that sense of belonging throughout everything. So yeah, for my belong category, I chose the word kindness. I think it's something that is super important in middle school in general, but just in our community. One of the questions we were acted on to answer was to create our own definition of the word. And so for kindness, I said showing acts of appreciation to people you know and don't know, as well as being a friendly face to anyone you see. And I really feel as though kindness is one of the most important things you can show to people in middle school, especially because it's very raw time for a lot of people, and it is a place where people are trying to figure themselves out and learn from their mistakes and grow. And so when we can give people the benefit of the doubt and show them kindness, it goes a long way. For my second, I said, or prepare, I said ambitious. Ambition, I think, is something that you are born with, but you can also learn it. It's something that fuels you and makes you a better person. It creates an atmosphere where you can grow and push each other around yourselves. For my definition, we said a drive that fuels you and makes you want to be better, do better, and make better. I think an example of this, especially with me graduating middle school or promoting and heading into high school this fall, I think it's something super important that I want to make sure that I can take with me and push myself, especially in high school, giving myself more opportunities. A lifelong goal for me is to attend Yale, and so that's something that I'm trying to be ambitious about and work towards. Lastly, for my inspire slide, I said explore. I am lucky enough to be part of the ECOS group, and so through that, we've been able to explore lovely Oregon and look at the gifts that the world has given us. I think that not only exploration of the world around us, but ourselves. And I think that, yeah, it's just an amazing thing to do in middle school. For my definition, I said discovering and keeping a constant curiosity in life and in school. And I think that is super important and something to be implemented in every part of your life.
All right, next up is Kinley.
So for my first belong slide, I also picked a lot of kindness, which I said he's going out of your way to do and say considerate things for other people. I have a lot on this slide, but I thought I'd just read the beginning, and I said this will help me in high school by creating more and stronger friendships with the people I attend school with and getting along better with teachers, so I can have a more successful high school journey and kind of just make it a better place than leave there as a better place than I found it. So and then these pictures, this is a picture from when I went to Florida for spring break with my family. And we just had a really nice time because we hadn't seen each other in a while, and so it was just really fun to connect with them, and just being kind of helped us all get along and have a good time. For my prepared slide, I picked commitment, which I said means that you strive towards whatever goal you have and never giving up until you reach it. This will help me in high school because by being committed, I can be closer to getting all my work done and more likely to do good on it when I
set my mind to it, and then I just work towards it and eventually complete it. And that picture on there is from cheer tryouts, which were a couple weeks ago, which I had never done cheer before, so that was something new. But now that I'm committed to it, I found something that I like to do, and it's kind of just helped me like begin my time in high school and just practice committing to something when you don't know what it's gonna bring, but when you're just there for it. And so for my Inspire one, I said dreams, which I said means that you set goals and aspirations for yourself that will help you grow and become a better person. This will help me in the future by encouraging me to set goals and have higher aspirations, so I know what I'm working towards, and I can just have goals that I'm yeah, kind of just like working towards all the time. That picture is also from the same break. And that was when I went snorkeling with sharks, which one of my goals in life is to do something with the ocean or like marine biology. So that was kind of a step in the right direction to kind of help me know what I'm getting into and kind of just exploring my passions and maybe thinking about what I want to do in the future.
It's all right. So we looked at lots of math data, reading data, but this is the data that we focus on every day. Super important. Not just building mathematicians and readers, but building humans. And these are two awesome examples coming out of the middle school that I can't wait to see what they do in high school. Super proud of them. So that's my data, our data presentation for the day. Any questions?
I'm so impressed.
Well done.
Very well
Very
done.
well.
We're gonna miss you.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Is this our last meeting?
It is.
Yeah.
Hey, don't say so fast. Who knows? I might come back and make some public comments.
Yeah.
Let me tell you guys something.
You left once before
Yeah,
and you came back.
I might.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward in a couple of years.
Yeah.
If you have this wonderful experience, I'm so envious
Thank you.
of your ability to say, hey, I'm gonna step out and do something really
Adventure.
different.
Well, I try to learn from them. You have to have dreams and have some aspirations to do things, and
Yeah.
so for sure.
Thank you so much for all you've done for our kids.
You're welcome.
You guys are lucky to have good leadership like this. And we'll miss you.
Thank you.
Have a
We
great
will miss
night.
you. Thank
You haven't
you.
seen the last of me, don't worry.
Okay,
Okay,
there we go.
all right.
Thank you.
Yeah, how did you guys like this exercise? What did you take away from it?
So this was something that, this is something we had started doing in our belong class, and then it transferred over to our homeroom class to finish up. And I think there was definitely a switch between when we could work on it in homeroom and belong, and when we were given the opportunity to finish up in belong. I think it was almost a perspective change to see, oh wow, like this is something that I'm going to be able to share with the younger classmen and people who I do want to kind of take away from my experience and give them the opportunity to learn from my mistakes. And I think it was a really incredible opportunity to just kind of give them a little view into 8th grade, and brilliant. I think other than the obvious part of like working on it and choosing which values matter to me, I think the part of like the actual physical just making it kind of helped, because we had set deadlines for when each piece of it would be due, and then I think that kind of just helped me think about like what I'm going to be doing in high school like that, and how even just thinking about these things and then working towards them, because like having higher aspirations and stuff that I talked about in my slide will obviously help you, but even just this small exercise that exemplified that was really helpful, because I understood that even when you're working towards something big, you have to take smaller steps like this to get.
Cool, thank you so much.
All right.
You can come back and see a future budget.
Always recruiting. Who, who would like to go next? Do you want to go next? Do you want to go next? Who would like to go next? Grace.
Oh.
But yeah, how do you compare with that?
So I do have data. And before I start, I just personally want to say thank you to all of you. I realize this is the last time I'll be here. And I just, I don't think our community knows how fortunate we are to have the caliber of a school board that we have. I have been super impressed. Some of the members have changed, some have been here the whole time. But the leadership that you show as a body, the focus that you have on what's important, the mission critical work of what's best for our kids. You don't come with your personal agendas. You don't come with political aspirations. You come to serve and you come to lead. And I just can't tell you how valuable that is for those of us who are working in the trenches. And I just want to thank you for that. I don't think you guys get thanked enough for the many, many hours that you invest for our kids. But you also don't just see our students as kids who read, write, and do math. You see our kids as full humans, and you support so many innovative and creative and wonderful programs for our students. And we couldn't do that in our schools if we didn't have you here leading the way, supporting us, and giving us that freedom. And I think one of the things I was reflecting on this week is I just value and appreciate your trust in all of us and in how we serve our kids. So thank you. So kind of moving to data. Anyway, I have the iReady end of the year math and literacy. We're starting with math, and when we talk about our math, one of the things we've been discussing as a district is that math is an area of focus in our strategic plan, some things that we really want to look for as we're moving forward. I also have the hat of the English learners, and we have that wonderful ODE, ELOP, English learner outcome program that we get to be a part of in the next 4 years. And we have determined we're really going to be looking at 6th through 9th grade math data for our multilingual learners as that data point. But when we talk about 6th through 9th graders, it all starts with kindergarten. So we're all invested together in that journey and in that work. And so as I kind of share with you the math, I have 3 years of data, end of the year data, and I think if you just look at it, the one thing you're going to see is it pretty much looks the same year over year. And it's great data. It's not data, it's 5% of our students in red. Would love to have 0 students in red, right? But we have incredible data, but we always want to grow and strive and get better. And when you look at data, that's 3 years the same. The one thing is we included 5th grade in this year, so there's a bigger sample size. You got to remember that. And typically, there becomes a bigger spread as kids get a little older, which we're trying to address and figure out, because again, it's great data.
The standards get hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yet we know that there's room to grow and opportunity. So that's something that we do take seriously. And that will lead into the work of us looking in to a new math adoption, down the road in a couple of years. So, but overall, really good data for our students in math. Here you can kind of see it diced out a bit. One of the things in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, we really worked with our current materials and reworked quite a few things. So we reworked order of instruction, we reworked how we did instruction. And so you can see that the data is showing that there's been some significant improvement in that. And you can kind of see our 3rd, 4th, and 5th it takes a while when we rework things in the primary, it takes a while to kind of work that out and as our students grow. So what you'll see in the left column is kids that are above grade level. Okay, they're high proficient. Green, the second one over, is going to be the students who are right on level. Yellow is students who are within striking distance of being on level. And then red is students that are a grade level below, and then the ones with the lines are students who have some significant challenges in math. So that's kind of how you would read it as I share the literacy as well. So again, when you think about the fact that in kindergarten, we have 90% of our students who are proficient or above proficient, that's excellent work, right? So as you can kind of look and see those numbers, and you have this to take with you if you want to look at it in the future.
But even so for
Yeah.
this one, so even for grade 5, right? So there's
Yeah.
the 8% that are
Right.
struggling,
Mhm.
but
Significantly struggling.
significantly
Yeah.
struggling, right? But
Yeah.
40% are above grade level.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah. So that also lends, the question that we have to look at is how do we challenge those students, continue to give them opportunities to do more integrative projects and things like that can really use the skills that they already have, while also looking at how do we help build the students who have lagging skills.
The other thing to call out is, those are kids that entered during the pandemic.
Yes. Our fifth graders were kindergartners when the world shut down. Okay, so they missed the last 3 months of their schooling.
That's good.
As kindergartners, they had the drive-through promotion, like all the things that kind of happened at the end of their kindergarten year. And then their first grade year, they were fully masked and separated by 6 feet for the most part.
If they were with
If
us,
they
that's the
were
other thing,
with
is
us.
some folks chose, I actually believe the students who who did show up every day, got the benefit of the instruction every day. And those that chose to do the online portion, I think got less. And I think that's some of the struggle we see. And again, that's not a comment on anything.
Yeah,
It's just it's not, not shaming anything at all.
No.
It's just the situation that we found at the end of that year. We had really amazing data that the kids were live with us
Right.
from that year. So it is, there's some historical context with this.
Absolutely, there is. And the other piece is we get new kids every year that didn't start with us in kindergarten.
Yeah.
So they, some of the kids who move in have some significant challenges,
Yeah.
who have come from different programs that didn't have the same opportunities that our students sometimes get. So, so overall, I think
In
we'll
that
do.
context, do you ever parcel out the kids that have been with us for 5 years? To say, how are they doing?
I can, because I have the data on which kids I've had all 6 years,
Yeah.
except that some of them did leave for homeschooling and then come back. But I could look at that, because we're doing a special award for those kids who came first, kindergarten through 5th grade. So,
That would be interesting.
That would be real
interesting. Yeah. I will talk with my team and we'll work on that.
Okay.
Yeah. The next slide.
Not that you don't have enough to do.
Right.
But that's the stuff that I actually will keep me up at night for intrigue and wanting, it sparks some things. In iReady, we have our annual typical growth and then our annual stretch growth. Annual typical growth is when we would say that we want each student to make 1 year of growth. Annual stretch growth would be that students would make like 2 years worth of growth significantly. So what you want to look is how many students % met their annual typical growth, and then how many even beyond that met their stretch growth. So if you look at first grade, 71% of the students met their growth goal, but 53% of them met their stretch goal, which is an extra challenge for them. And so you can look right there and see, again, the most significant work happened at 1st and 2nd grade as far as reordering instruction and looking at different materials. And you can see that reflected in our data. So
again, and really all of it, our kids have done a nice job.
Well,
iReady says they want about 50% of kids to meet the annual growth goal. My goal is much higher than that, but they say, 50% is you're doing well. And so you can see here that we're above really that 50% in most of our grade levels. And the other significant thing on the right side, the percent of students with improved placement. So if a student started the year at proficient, then they can improve to above proficient, right? But that's harder than like if you had a student who was red who moved to yellow or yellow who moved to green. So basically it is saying though, if you look at the numbers, those students have all made improved placement from the start of the year, which of course this is saying at the start of the year, they were tested on the same standards as tested on now, right? So what that is saying is that we have our students making the kind of growth that we want them to make. So when we go to literacy data, you can see that we have decreased the percentage in the red from 7% to 6%. And then you can see on the proficient's about the same. But the significant difference, and I circled it on your papers, is if you look, and remember this is a whole school. This is not by grade level. But if you look right here at the red and yellow here versus here, oops, versus over here, this is where U-Fly comes into play with our kindergarten, first and second grade students. And what you see is in phonological awareness, we didn't have any reds this year in our school. And we have dropped on our phonics red, and we've also dropped on our high frequency word red. And so that's really where you start to see that incremental data of implementing those different programs in the primary grades. So we know, and we have adopted, benchmark for next year, and we know that that's really going to be focusing on the vocabulary and the comprehension places, which is going to be, school-wide, where we're going to be looking at some improvements and some focus. So again, you can kind of see that beginning to happen for us. If you look here, this is our different grade levels, and you can see again, it's not until second grade that we have a small band of students that are in red, which is 2% of our students. And these are students who had U-Fly all of first grade, all of second grade, and some had U-Fly in kindergarten as well. So they have gone through the entire program, now, and are heading into third grade. So when you think about in third, fourth, and fifth grade, our interventions, tier 1 instruction helps us not have as much intervention, right? If you have good instruction, and we're starting to really see that played out in our data for our school. It has made a significant difference. And then finally, if you look at our growth in literacy, you're going to see even more data of students who have met their goals and have improved their placement from the start of the year. So I'm really proud of our team with the work that they continue to do. And, our teachers are never satisfied. They're always looking for something more that they can do for our students. And not just in these areas, but really in SEL instruction and in providing really cool opportunities for our students. One of our big things we're doing this year is building new traditions for fifth grade. Friday, we're going to be doing a legacy hike out on Wychus Overlook, and having the whole staff there and doing some really exciting, fun things with our students after work on Friday. And then on the promotions, and be really cool with some things that we're doing in conjunction with middle school to have them say goodbye to elementary and be welcomed in and become a part of the community of the middle school before they go to summer. So they're going to be connected to Belong classes, and they will be connected to a house, and they will be connected then to doing the field day with the students. So excited even to see how that 8th grade with the 5th grade kind of baton passing and things can happen. So really excited about what we're offering our students.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks. Any questions?
I have a really quick thought going back to the question about kind of separating out the kids who've been with us for the 5 years versus those. And I think if the data is kind of mixed and it's like, all right, well, it was an interesting experiment, but if we can see that the kids who've been with us for 5 years are doing well, then like, okay, so then the ones who are struggling, if they've come in since, you know, the last 5 years or 4 years, then I feel like that really gives us hope, like, okay, by the time they get to high school, they're like the propensity to improve is gonna be, right? Like, I think
Yeah.
that's like gives us a lot of hope to say like, okay, good, then we can get them on track in the next 4 years, because we've shown that
We've been
the
with
kid,
you.
like, yeah, if they stay with us for 4 years, then we can get them back on track. But, yeah, that would also just echoing the question of how does the data look if we kind of decouple it from those two groups?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions?
A thought. My guess is that if the kids who have been with us for a number of years are doing better than kids who move in, that's probably true for all schools. I think the kids who stay in the same district year after year, same school building, probably do better than kids who
Move around a lot.
move around a lot. And
I think the question, I would agree with you, and I think there's some mobility factors, but I also think the question is, we have folks that are in Sisters but choose other things and then come back. And that would be an interesting dynamic,
Yeah.
because it's not necessarily itinerant home situation where they're moving and there's other maybe risk factors. It might be just choices, and the fact that I've said it, I think our elementary school has one of the strongest staffs in the state. And when kids are with us, we do some really good work with those kids. So it would be interesting to drill down into the data to see if it plays out that way.
Yeah, I would be curious.
Yeah.
I do think if the longer you have students in a system, they reflect the system.
Yeah.
And if the system is a high quality system, they're gonna reflect that.
Yeah.
You know, so.
In most of these, in the kindergarten and the first grade, in the very beginning, kids for this year entered with skills. Do you think there's a lot of that could go back to the preschool promise part of our system?
I would say, because I know the kids by name that come from Preschool Promise and I see data on students and things like that, I would say that what Preschool Promise does is it gives a hand up for our students and helps preschool definitely. We can see differences between students who don't have preschool experience and students who do. And which students were already tracking in kindergarten and which ones were not. I mean, the ones we're tracking in kindergarten typically don't have the same wealth of preschool experience that other students might have had. And so we know that there's a significant need to provide more support. We also see in first grade, when we have students who were not a part of our kindergarten and join our first grade, we see significant gaps that we have to then address and fill. And so we have those two dynamics that continue to play in our primary, you know, of really looking at needing to provide that extra support for students who chose a different option for kindergarten.
I think that's really going back to what Steve said earlier about the importance of really remembering and putting emphasis in the early childhood situation in our community is really an important piece that just isn't always there for all families.
Right. And I know we've looked at, could we expand Preschool Promise? Could we do a pay option, you know, and the numbers just don't quite work out for the school district. And so we've been really kind of wrestling with that for the past few years of would it be possible? And how could we do it where we're actually breaking even financially and not taking a hit or having the district have to subsidize?
We went this past, I don't know, 3 months ago and visited Ben's program, their in-school program. To look at, do we offer an early childhood option, but again, as PC pointed out with the budget we have. We're
Yeah.
actually reducing the expanding programming, so we've started looking
Yeah.
at all our options and how we align those needs and what might be future possibilities.
Yeah. And Miley's got connections with the person at Bend High with the program, so they will share all of that with us, but it's just a matter of, figuring out next steps. Yeah.
Well, I want to jump in and thank Joan. Joan's been,
Yep, that was
as those who don't know, this is also Joan's last board meeting.
Yes,
Joan
thank you,
is,
Joan.
Yes, it is.
Retiring, I'm jealous, and I just wanna publicly thank Joan, for all of her hard work and efforts. Been a good eventful 7-year run. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Joe.
I'll second that. I think the foundation that you've built over the last 4 or 5 years for our kindergarten kids, just early on is just pretty extraordinary. Some of the most exciting stuff I've seen in a whole long time on my school board. Good work you've done there, and thank you very much.
I would agree, and the fact that a lot of work is done, not just on reading, writing, and arithmetic, helps make them just succeed so much better later. And so I have been very pleased and impressed, and thank you.
And I want to personally thank you because my kid was one of those kindergartners and is now a 5th grader. And he was so excited about his iReady scores.
That's awesome.
I mean, and it was a struggle for him, for sure. And opening a new school. I mean, getting through COVID, opening a new school. I mean, those kids, I lived it, so thank you.
Yeah. Especially I think the way you handled COVID here compared to a lot of other districts. I have bragged about our elementary school to many.
Thanks. I will tell you, it was a complete team effort. We met like every afternoon for a couple weeks just in getting open, and then we were constantly reevaluating and reassessing. It took a team to be, and that they were willing to step into that and open school for our students, even with all those parameters. We have a phenomenal team who was willing to do what it took to make that happen for our kids.
I had colleagues around the state calling me, wondering how we had our teachers they still didn't have a live, not even, what was the term where you could have them intermittently, and I can't remember, we had some acronym for it. It's been so long ago, I didn't want to forget about it. But I think it was Libby or something. It was something where they were limited and intermittent, and they hadn't even seen kids that way. They were completely 100% remote. Their staffs were refusing to have kids in the building. And our folks said, no, we need our kids in the building. That's the best way to do it. So it really was, again, going back to this is a good place to be.
It is. It's an amazing place to be.
Yeah.
So thank you.
No, thank you so much.
Chairman, you're another budget for chairman.
Well,
Be a couple years.
Steve is gonna be brief because he has an award ceremony to get to, so I'm giving him permission to be brief because.
Set the table for me. I'm also gonna be brief because I don't have a presentation. No.
Well, also thank you for not leaving.
Yeah.
Just want to throw that out there.
But I mean, in all seriousness, I want to start by saying that it is one of the reasons that I was so excited to come here in the first place was the scale of operations and the humanity that you encounter in a district our size at every level is just, it makes the job so much more inspiring and it makes it so much easier to get in the morning and you're excited to come and interact with people. And two of the people I've had, you know, just, I feel like the utter pleasure, and it's just been awesome to work with both Tim and Joan. You'll just, today is a good example of that you saw their presentations, and I'm going to talk about my data. But you know, super inspiring in terms of just you know, what I get upstream, or I guess downstream from them when kids show up to our building. It's my challenge is, how do I, you know, work with these kids and not undo all the awesome work that Joan has done. So anyways, I'm gonna miss them, and they've been awesome colleagues. This will actually just be a little bit more of a preview, just tracking with the cycle of when our data shows up. So a lot of the things that, you know, I'm looking at coming in toward the end of the year, I just plain don't have yet. So things like grad rates and our on track rates, but I do have a little bit of a window and attendance and those sort of things, but I have a little bit of a window, and then I can maybe, I put a maybe on my date for the July one, because we're gonna do a little break with our family in the front end of July, and I can't remember if we're back in time. But if we're not, I definitely in the August board meeting, I'll do an update of what I'm gonna just do a prelude to tonight. But just as far as looking at where we're headed into graduation, it is the next, literally the next 5 days are, you know, could be the difference between, you know, 97% or 92%. We've got, you know, a few kids that are grinding right now. And you know, at least one that may be grinding all the way until Friday morning next week. But I'm fairly pleasantly surprised to know that a lot of the hard work that our counseling department and all of our staff have put in to put kids that, if you'd asked me a year ago, I'd have been like, well, might have to be looking for options here, you know. And so that's true of, you know, easily 10 to 15 kids in any given year, in any given cohort, where I can just look at faces in my building. And this will sound a little bit crass, but I know that, for example, you know, person A, I can identify the names and faces of kids who are going to cross the finish line because of a person, and the effort that they had put forth and the connection they made with the student. So so right now, as of today, feeling pretty good headed into next week as far as, you know, where our integrated grant wanted us to be. Again, we got a little bit of daylight. Most of the seniors' grades will be done by Friday. And like I said, we'll probably have a few kids that are having to do a few things next week. And then for our freshmen on track, if I just looked at the data that I have, we're tracking, and if things hold for third term as they have throughout the year, we're right in that 93% range for our freshmen. And I think we've talked about this before, but what the state tracks is credits based on a 24 credit diploma. So, you know, I look at that and look at the data they're using, and that's where that 93 number comes from. But then we've also made a commitment to digging a little deeper and looking at not just the credits, but where they're at with their core classes. And so right now I can also say that we're still ticking slightly above 90, even when I go and look at the language arts credits. For math, it's a little trickier because they could theoretically not pass math this year, but then they still have 3 years, you know, left, and they need 3 credits. So it's a little trickier with math. But so all in all, freshman class is looking pretty good. Attendance wise this year, one of the cool things of meeting with our strategic planning committee with Dr. Hess that came in and helped us a little bit was just having being able to zoom out and kind of see where we're at relative to districts in the region. And so 82% are in the ballpark there. That was a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Of our students are at 90% or above attendance, which, given how much our kids do, and because of everything counts, doesn't matter why you're at, everything counts. We're actually ticking pretty well ahead of a lot of the schools in our region, but also like schools across the state. That was some data that I think one of the data points that stuck out when he came and helped us. So that continues to be true. And so, yeah, what we'll be like I said, we'll have more to talk about in July as far as achievement data goes. We had, I want to say, it had to have been approaching 95+% participation on the pre-ACT this year for 10th grade.
Oh, wow.
Which the first step this year was getting kids to participate, and next year we've got a plan to just do a little more table setting. So just spending more time in our advisory, talking about, about the test, maybe running them through some, some practice questions so they just know what they're going to encounter. So we've got some plans around how we can improve even more on that regard, but just the participation rate alone was way better than it had been in the past. And also for our state testing, I know that's been a little bit of a source of, a fodder in this room, but our state testing this year, I don't know the exact numbers yet, and we won't get those back until the fall when all the data is cleaned up. But just anecdotally, the rooms that we tested seemed fuller this year, and we had fewer parents that that were exercising the opt-out option. So we're still, I think, a long ways away from having clean enough sample sizes and data to really be able to lean on this data for the juniors, but I think we're at least moving in the right direction of people taking the test seriously.
Thanks.
Anyway, any questions for me? Would love to see as many of you as possible at graduation a week Friday, 7 o'clock, doors open at 6:30. We always will have a seat for you in the sort of in the front row of where our staff are, and then for anybody that really wants to be in the limelight, we got chairs by the stage too. So, any questions for me?
So that's Friday, the
13th.
13th.
Perfect.
That's a thing. A week from Friday.
Yeah, it is a little bit fun, but Friday the 13th.
Anyway, and as I'll probably mention in the ceremony, this is a special cohort for me because it's the cohort I spent all 4 years with. The first group that I spent all 4 years with. So they're, a little bit of a special group for me. So it's been great.
So they're the 8th graders coming in. They have loved their middle school experience, but they're so excited for high school.
Well, we had the 8th graders last week, and it was a hoot. Bringing
A hoot is a nice way of putting it.
well, so it's a little bit of a smaller cohort, than what preceded them. So we're going from about 120 freshmen down to, I think we're between 75 and 80 for next year. But I just keep hearing, and you saw the evidence tonight, that it's a smaller but mighty group with lots of ambition, to quote one of the slides. So we're excited for them.
They're loud.
Well, I would love it if they came in and breathed some life into the other groups. That'd be great. So.
All right, it's on my calendar.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Steve.
And again, thank you for not leaving.
I'm actually.
You can leave now, but come back next month.
Just come back in August.
Come back next month.
All right.
We don't need a hat trick.
Steve is saying. No. So mine's gonna be short. Kurt said I had 3 minutes, look at some data. So I thought it would just be really appropriate since we're year 3 into Care Solace. And we've had a couple recent changes with our contract. I thought it would be kind of fun to just take a peek at our data for Care Solace. And just as a reminder, I know I've spoken to this before. Care Solace is really that care coordination component. It's available 24/7 to help our families, teachers, kids, anyone connected with the school district to find, to actually get into mental health support. Therapy, matching up insurance, matching up care providers who would coordinate with the care that's needed. So the very first year we started, 22-23, we got a grant from the Roundhouse Foundation. A lot of the other schools in our region also started this year. We had a lot of initial interest in what is Care Solace, what can it do for me? We had 32 total cases. But the numbers that are really important to me is the number of cases, and right underneath it is the amount of appointments that people actually got through. So it could be that we opened up 32 cases, maybe a weekend, the individual decided maybe they didn't need care, or maybe it was too far to go, or they couldn't find the right care provider, or their insurance didn't match up. So a lot of reasons why people initiate service and then actually don't follow through with the appointment. So 32 cases, 11 appointments, that's roughly about 30% success rate of actually getting folks in to get services. In 23-24, we dropped down a little bit. We had 12 cases. We only had 4 actual appointments that scheduled their provider meetings.
To me, this is still success though. I mean, this could be for suicide preventions. It could be for families at a crisis. It could be getting 4 kids ready to learn. So any number there is a success for me. We clicked into the 24-25 year, our total cases actually, our appointments into care actually went up too. So this year we're at a 70% success rate as far as our cases, and then how many appointments, how many folks actually got in for an appointment. So that makes me happy. So if we look at the data summary, just comparison over the 3 years, again, you can see the cases with a lot of initial interest.
Wow.
And then the actual 11 cases for this year, getting into 8 appointments, those two pieces of data. I'm pretty happy with. It does save our school counselors, teachers, admin, just time coordinating that care. I also have, like, I can sleep at night over the breaks or over the weekends when I know, like, if we do have a crisis, that anyone can access care, anyone can initiate care, even if school is not in service. So I just really love that about that. So we're going to continue ongoing support with Care Solids. Kind of evolving the usage, our data has been fluctuating. But just thinking about, especially on my end, is like, how do we keep this at the forefront of everyone's attention to remind them that this service is always available? I just sent Amy a flyer to go out in June to make sure that parents know, like, this service over the entire summer, this service will still be available. So just scheduling those periodic little information loops so that it stays at the forefront of everyone's attention. And something kind of fun that has just happened within the last week. I applied again last August. We got another Roundhouse grant. They funded us for 2 years. And it's actually quite expensive. And with this funding of this last application, they of course said, okay, after this, you guys kind of have to figure this out. So it's been in the back of my mind. This is an expensive service. Do we provide it? We have budgets that we're looking at being more efficient with. Just recently, all of the school districts in our region, Deschutes County, I sit on a lot of regional meetings, just have a great group of peers within these groups. And we're all in the same situation of trying to be more efficient with less money. And so actually, Ben Lapine actually had the idea of, what if we went together on a contract for multiple school districts? Could we get a better price? And so we worked it out. It took us about a month, and we just signed the contract last week. So it was us, Ben Lapine, and Redmond. We're all on the same Care Solace contract.
Wow.
It decreased our expenses by 50% of the amount of money that we're saving if we all join together in the contract. It's also going to be interesting because we'll be able to look at data regionally.
Yeah.
So as far as like the care coordination, like what is the need for services, we will be able to look across Deschutes County. And then we will also be able to segregate the data. So it'll be just sisters, and then we'll also have access for like what's the need regionally. So as we're developing services or planning through the high desert ESD or just looking at plans, we'll all have access to that data.
Yeah.
So does that mean then Roundhouse will do like years? Like
No,
I think it's not sisters. And it's very doable with the price, savings. But even like for real though, does that mean also because I think there's a lot of kids that move from Ben to sisters or sisters to Ben, they're like around, like families will stay in the area. And then does that track with them because we're on the same? We will, once July 1st, the new contract starts July 1st.
Yeah.
So right now, if you were to go to coordinate care services through Care Solace, you would have our QR code or the website that's specifically designed just for sisters until July 1st. And then after July 1st, we're going to switch to the new contract. So we will have a separate website, a new website, a new QR code to access this new contract that we have with all 3 school districts. So it'll be a Deschutes County. It'll be like a link for Deschutes County. But in terms of the benefit of being on a one contract.
Yeah,
definitely. If we
Like-
have a sister student who moves to Ben Lapine and they're using Care Solace, like all of that will continue within this.
Cause right now, if there's like someone in Sisters and they use the Sisters Care
Sure.
Solace account, right, and then they move to Bend, and
Yeah,
then
use a different one.
they have to like.
They would have to-
restart,
Yeah,
like-
because it's by school, we pay by school district in our current contract.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, but we're moving to a regional contract, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it is interesting in our mental health regional meetings, we do share a little bit of data, so we can look at like what's, you know, like what's happening in Redmond, what's happening in Ben Lapine. So, and the data is similar, but it'll be interesting just to be on to have a.
Yeah,
a
to
database.
compare and contrast and just.
We have a
see
lot
how
of
we're doing
adults
it.
that also, I mean, we have a lot of adult the system as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Both staff and family members. So,
Interesting.
yeah. You guys have any questions?
Oh, that's fantastic news.
Yeah,
though. I think this is a good system.
Yeah, it
Even
really.
if, even if it just lets you sleep on weekends.
I know, yeah.
I mean, things happen over the summer, you know,
Yeah.
and sometimes.
Yeah, that's huge. I agree. There's huge gaps.
Yeah, in the evenings, the weekends, the holidays are hard. June, you know, typically is a hard month for families. We have a lot of crisis, you know, mental health issues tick up, and also September. So,
No,
Wonderful.
Very
Thank
good.
you. Thanks for the good news.
I'm gonna be brief because.
And this doesn't exist.
Yeah, there's no, the action item was a carryover from last meeting with Joan when we had to have the
It was just on our,
curriculum that we had
I
to,
just didn't understand. I wanted to make sure I
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
missing anything.
yeah, no worries.
Okay.
So obviously our enrollment, we'd like to see that,
Do that.
continue to trickle, a little more at the high school than anywhere else. Which is, having been a high school guy my whole career, which is actually typical this time of year, it tends to be the place that you lose kids. We've been pretty stable in the other buildings, mostly throughout this year, so part of that will also catch up overall with us as the younger grades that have stayed large keep moving up. So, you know, again, we don't want to lose any of our kiddos, but I don't think it's non-typical. What was non-typical was the fact that the last 7 years, we've grown after Christmas. That usually doesn't happen in a district. So, so again, the comments that we've talked about earlier, that's one of our main funding mechanisms is our enrollment. So we really want to keep an eye on that and keep working to attract families and students into the district. You got the bond update. I'm not gonna go any deeper into the bond for the sake of time.
I have a really quick question. So from 11th grade last year, the 113, and now the seniors, the 12th grade, and they're it looks like the 94. Wait, I can't see, 192. What am I looking? Anyway, is that the work, Heart of Oregon or something like that? Is that the?
It can be that most of the time in these
That's like
reports,
90.
because most of the time, and some of them, if they enrolled fully in Sisters last year, Redmond was not a part of our agreement with Heart of Oregon.
Right.
And so any kids from Redmond that wanted to do it had to enroll in Sisters and then become a part of the program. And there was a good number of kids that did that, and their cohort runs intermittently. So it does disproportionately have an impact on what that looks like from roll up, right? So if we had 5 kids a cohort, 3 cohorts, it's 15 kids over the year that were juniors that went through the
Yeah,
hard.
that's what I'm wondering. So
Yeah,
that
went
was
through the hard,
like-
so there's a little bit of a, now we got full enrollment for them while they were in it, because that's the way our agreement works. But that's, I think, a little bit of why we see the difference. I don't believe, and Steve, he's not here, but he tracks enrollment, I don't believe we lost 15 kids.
Right, or that's what, but
30 kids.
that's,
Yeah.
they were counted last year. at
Yes.
the End of year.
Because they had to fully
and not-
enroll.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So but we don't know what that number is of number of Heart of Oregon kids.
last year.
Well, we're just trying, I mean, the
It
data.
isn't
looks like-
involved this year, because this year we have a reciprocal agreement with Redmond, so they stay enrolled in Redmond and attend the Heart of Oregon. So our agreement with every other district is that we provide the administrative support and we actually work with the Heart of Oregon for accreditation. Kids going through there get sisters credits.
Okay,
Okay, so that's our relationship with every other district but Redmond last year. So Redmond kids would not be allowed to attend Heart of Oregon unless they enrolled and transferred the sisters and went into the program.
right,
So this year it's different. So this year's numbers.
This is accurate then.
Yes, this year's numbers are accurate.
So
What I'm
we-
saying is last year's look a little inflated because
Yeah.
it would include 15 kids throughout those cohorts that went through.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember where the
Yeah.
breakup was if it was at the end of the year.
So we definitely dropped this number
Yeah.
in the high school.
Yeah, the high school specific.
Yeah, that's the only one well, yeah.
Yeah, everything else is net positive for most.
Yeah, or pretty flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we, okay.
So bond, just an update, you heard me talk about as soon as school's out, we're gonna be shutting the field down, getting the rocks off of it at the elementary school. Verticutting, seeding, and shut down the whole field to get it grass to grow.
Is it the whole field
Yeah.
need the repair, the whole
Yeah,
thing?
no, it's a mess. I mean, we had to let our kids out there and
Yeah.
kids travel on it and the youngness of the grass that was growing, it just didn't survive. It's just not, it's now dirt and rock.
I mean, it's the
Excellent.
the yard walk every morning.
Yes, yes, a lot of factors.
Yeah,
So that's happening.
Yeah.
We're getting a quote to complete with the remaining money to complete the walkway behind the stadium so that there's a full loop walk past and you don't have to
Yeah.
cross the incoming traffic and so that's processing. Finishing up, having August 1 year walkthrough with the contractors also, so they've been replacing the windows. I think there's one left to replace. They've been doing some of the maintenance. We had some metal, the paint on the metal flaking off, so those things have been. During Christmas and spring break, they've come in and done the fixes on those things. So we're real close to 1 year anniversary jumping into, and honestly, I think our meeting is August and hopefully by that meeting, we got a lot of really good looking green grass out there growing and things are looking good, so.
Greenhouse?
It's up and going. Volunteers are constructing it, purchased, it's here. It's, they've been working, they took a break, I think. David, Hiller, who's our greenhouse guru, I think he did something to his hand in the process, and so. He took a little break and then I've reorganized some of the volunteers and they were out going at it the other day as well, so. We expect that what I hear from them is we'll get that online by the fall, so.
And then portables?
Those still yet to be moved, probably August
Okay.
to,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, August 8th. So, yeah, Park and Rec is gonna be, that's part of the development plan is where those are, is where the parks are gonna be, so. They finished their job in October and we've coordinated that sometime in mid-August. We've got a company lined up, we had to get the permits and have the plan, all the tests done to make sure we can move them, so that's in process as
Okay.
well.
Where are they being, remind me where they're being moved to?
So we have a portal back in the back already, so we're putting one facing it, so there'll be a connector.
Behind the high school.
Yeah, behind the high school, behind the greenhouse.
Behind the high school.
Yeah,
I
so
think
we
that's where
already
she's at.
pre-laid that pad and one's there. The one that was where the elementary school was, we moved it back over there. We're gonna put another one facing it and build a deck connecting it, and then there'll be one behind it facing the other direction. That will probably be either a coach's office extension of for storage, because we really don't have a current need for it back there, but it's a usable portable, and so we'll need to move it out the front.
And just how are we paying for that?
It's out of the, well, that might be out of our deferred money, so the money that we got out of the purchase,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I don't, other than we're in process of the stuff we've discussed about, working, they've come in and measured this building, so we're working on that process, met with the city. We're looking at Cloverdale, so we're just in process right now, nothing new to report, on assets. It's a busy time of year, we're negotiations with both associations. Yeah, it's been a busy couple of weeks. And we'll got another week before, actually another 2 weeks until we're really, folks are out and hopefully, I don't know if I'm being optimistic that bargaining will be done by then because we started late, but it's, but again, feel, even though we have some challenges, feel good about where we are with the budget, feel good about where we are moving forward, so, optimistic. Any questions?
I don't have any. Anyone else have any questions?
No, yes, that's.
Okay. So moving along, we have board business. We have to approval of superintendent contract renewal. What we failed to put on the agenda last month, so here it is for real.
Do we have it printed somewhere?
I'm sorry?
Do we have it printed somewhere?
Well,
Or do we have to redo it or just?
No, we went through everything.
Yeah.
We were ready to approve it, but we just,
didn't put it on the agenda.
we didn't
Right.
put it on the
So
agenda.
my question is, do we have to like redo that or can we just say, yep, it's on the agenda and keep going?
I think what you can put is approve the superintendent's contract as discussed.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I will so move that. We'll do that.
Thank you.
No, let's make sure it's said correctly. Real, since we made sure we're doing it right, so. You're the wordsmith.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's on the agenda and we can,
Okay,
And I second it.
we're good.
great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. That
You're
was,
stuck to this now?
that was,
You gotta be on the hook for another year.
hey, consent agenda. Board work session minutes from 5-6, regular board meeting minutes from 5-7. We have some new hires, David Diaz, Sisters High School teacher, new hire Sarah Miller, speech language pathologist, new hire Colleen Oliver.
And
Sorry.
Colleen's not a new hire, Colleen
Yeah.
is just taking a different position.
Oh,
So,
Good for her.
on the ALD grant that we're getting with, that we are invited to get from the state, that comes with resources. One of the priorities is to get another support teacher and she has experience in that, and so
That's awesome.
she's moving into that role. And then we're actually in the process of looking at a new 5th grade teacher for the 5th grade team. And then Diaz is, would be Gary Thorson's replacement.
so she'll be,
Okay.
so Colleen Oliver, multilingual learner teacher, is that? Will that be in all 3 schools or is where? that-
No, we're probably gonna split her and Melissa. One will be secondary, middle and high, and one will be elementary.
Okay.
We're still working on
Great.
that.
Does anyone want to move to adopt the adoption of the consent agenda along with? The
So
new
moved.
house?
So move.
All in favor?
We need a second.
Oh, need a
Yeah.
second.
Okay.
I'll second.
I was too fast. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Announcements, July 9th is organizational meeting, so we are not meeting that first Wednesday, right? Because that.
The week's of 4th of July.
It's a week of 4th of July.
Yeah.
And then on here, we have August 20th as an OSB board member training.
So we'll have, and we should have the August meeting, I think it's the 3rd.
Yeah.
August
Okay.
3rd would be the regular board meeting, and then this with, I mean, Eric's been on the board for a few months now, but with Eric and 2 new members. Typically after an election, you have OSBA come in and talk about board member roles, what they do, et cetera, and so that was the idea that we would post that on the 20th. For the board to do a work session with OSBA. We typically invite Melinda as well as our council, get acquainted with the board and add her 2 cents in the
I
process.
think that's brilliant and long overdue. I do have a request, even though it's not on here, for the August 2nd meeting to move it to 5:30, so I don't run into this thing. That
Is it 2nd or 3rd?
what, the first Wednesday in August, whatever that is. And we do it at 5:30 and we can discuss that later, but I just want to throw it out there.
Do it at 6.
We'll also have more
You'll
board
have new
members.
people.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be different. but
Um,
Anyway.
yeah, December 3rd, we can do it. I mean, I don't have any, I mean. Summertime.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever,
Yeah,
whatever.
lots of daylight. Does anyone have anything else or
Yes.
go ahead, sir?
This is the last board meeting for
Oh,
a couple of our people.
that's crazy.
I would like to echo Joan's comments earlier about the board. We care about kids. We have people who come to the meetings well prepared, people who care about the important things, don't get dissuaded into irrelevant kinds of crap. And you know, some
You should.
young
I love
lady, some young lady who presented tonight chose her mother well. Pretty extraordinary young lady that we saw. What?
No.
I just stay out of her way.
That's great.
I don't believe that. Edie, I really appreciate your service and I will do my best to take care of early childhood learning, because I think that's as important for what we do, and you've made a huge contribution, and I thank you so much.
We'll miss you, Edie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll miss you both.
Yeah.
Well, this has been just a very enjoyable job, if you could call it a job. It has, and I will miss very much exactly what happened today, of hearing what's going on. Yeah.
Welcome to attend. You can become a.
Hearing Steve's words, I thought, I made a note, talk to Kurt about the possibility of creating a task force to work on the early childhood program. I would, you know, having time freed up may allow me to focus more on what I feel is so important. And in many ways, not as many opportunities for people here in our little town to recognize how important that really is. And I would like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would echo what everyone else said for both of you. It's been wonderful having you on the board with no agendas other than doing good things for kids. And that's I think the best part of it. And on just the note of Edie, I think you're focused on the early childhood, and then Jenica, although I'm not on Facebook or on the community Facebook, I hear that you are quite the warrior on the community Facebook page when it needs to be, so we'll miss that as well, so.
No, we won't miss it.
No.
Now you're unhinged.
That's right. Yeah, like, now I am unhinged.
Released.
No, I will. No, thanks. It's been a pleasure. It's been really fun.
We'll see you at other events.
Yes, I think I have some other things in other ways around the community that I wanna get involved in.
And we would like to see you back on July 9th if you have the opportunity.
Okay.
That would be
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, we're always looking for budget committee.
Remember that.
Right. All right, well, thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned at 6:51.
I don't, I'm gonna just